Hey guys, Ellie here. Today I wanted to really quickly teach you guys how to play chess. As you can see, this here is a really fun game that I've played since I was about 7 or 8 years old. I learned how to play in my second grade class. We had a unit where they taught us how to play chess, and it was just a really fun game I fell in love with ever since then. Um, there's a lot of great benefits to playing this game. For one, like I was saying, it's really fun. For two, this game is known for having a lot of really smart people that play it. I've seen chess tournaments on TV for large sums of money with really brilliant people playing it. And in general, people often say, I hear, like, hey, this person is really smart because they know how to play chess. And then you yourselves can, by learning this game, go and wow people by saying, hey, I know how to play chess. Want to play with me? Want me to teach you? And then they'll be like, man, that person's big brain because they know how to play chess. I'm just kind of being silly, but do y'all see this cat hair flying all over the place? I don't know if you can see on the camera, but I see it flying right in front of me. All of Cup's cat hair just flying around. And so, anyways, I'm kind of rambling on. Last thing I'll say before we get into it is that it might seem hard to play. I know that chess is considered a very prestigious game to know how to play, but it isn't that hard to learn. So just give it a chance before you think to yourself like, "Oh, no way, I'm going to learn. It's way too hard." Because it honestly, it really isn't that hard. So yeah, in all honesty, it isn't that difficult. It might take some time, don't get me wrong, but it's very learnable. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, guys, now it's time to get into the gameplay of chess. I'm going to explain to you the names of the pieces and what they do. And if you have to rewind it a few times or replay it to understand, that's totally okay. Just be patient and take your time. It's not a big deal. But without further ado, let's get right into this. Okay, so for starters, you have a white and a black team in chess typically, hence the black and white checkered pattern on the chessboard. For some reason, they gave me tan and brown pieces in this chess set, so we'll go ahead and say that this is the white team, the tan, and then the brown will be the black team, just to keep it simple. Now, let's move the camera this way as if I'm from the point of view of the white team, the tan pieces. And so for starters, my entire second row is filled with what's called pawns. These right here are pawns, and like their name suggests, they're kind of the noobs, the decoys. They're the pawns. You get 8 of them for that reason, and they're kind of they're your weakest pieces. Now, chess is a game where you take turns going back and forth. So I can make a move with one piece according to its rules, and that's my turn. Then it's this person's turn to move one of his pieces according to its rules, and then his turn's over, and you just take turns back and forth. You can eliminate enemy pieces with your own pieces, and you win the game by killing the enemy person's king. But we'll get into that later. The pawn's movement system, its rules are kind of confusing, so pay close attention right here. The pawn can only move one space forward. That's the only movement it's allowed for each turn. It can't move multiple spaces. It can't move side to side. It can't move backwards. It can only move one space forward for its turn. Technically, on its first turn, it can move 2 if it wants to, but just don't even worry about that. It's kind of complicated. It's not really a big deal. So for all intents and purposes, one space forward to begin its turn, or one space forward for its turn. And the way that it eliminates pieces is kind of confusing. So let's say the pawn can only eliminate pieces by moving one space diagonally. So if I had my pawn right here and I had an enemy pawn right here, I can't eliminate his piece because the pawn is not allowed to eliminate pieces by moving forward. The pawn can only eliminate moving diagonally. If there was a piece right here, however, one space forward and diagonal, I could eliminate it with my pawn. I don't know why that's the case, but those are the rules, and so we just got to follow the rules the way they are. And that is the way that the pawn works. This here is your castle. These are called rooks, R-O-O-K. You get 2 rooks to begin the game. You get 1 in each corner, and their movement system is a little bit, it's pretty simple. The rook can move unlimited spaces going either forward, backwards, or side to side. The only way that it really can't move is diagonally, forward or backwards. It can't move diagonal, but it can move everywhere else. It can move unlimited spaces until it either comes in contact with one of its own pieces, it has to stop, or it can move until it eliminates an enemy piece, and then it has to stop there. You can't eliminate multiple pieces in one turn in chess. And so that's the rook's movement system. Now the knight over here, the horse, I assume it's called the knight because in medieval warfare, the knights were the soldiers who rode on horses. But this right here is the most complicated piece to explain in chess. So you're gonna have to bear with me on this one. Okay, so the knight, this is gonna be confusing, so pay close attention. The knight has to move 3 tiles for its turn, and it has to make an L shape. So for instance, here's an example. So I could go 1, 2, 1, and that makes an L shape. It's because I moved 3 spaces and I made my L shape. I could go 1, 2, 1, and that would be another L shape. It'd be like a backwards L. I could go 1, 1, 2. That would be an L shape. You get the point. It has to make an L shape, and it can only move 3 spaces. It has to go 2 spaces and then 1, or it has to go 1 space and then 2 in any direction. The knight is also the only piece in chess that can hop over other pieces. So if my knight was right here, I could do this. I could go 1, 2, 1. That'd be an L shape in 3 spaces. And it's fine that I hopped over this pawn right here. That's totally fine. Now, the way that the pawn eliminates pieces, let's say I have a pawn, let's say I'm right here. So I could go 1, 2, 1. I made my L shape, but I did not eliminate this enemy pawn right here because you can't eliminate by hopping over pieces. You can only eliminate by finishing your turn on top of a piece. So let's put my knight back over here. If there was an enemy pawn right here, however, then I could go 1, 2, 1. And since my turn ended on top of that pawn, then I eliminated it. If that makes sense, I killed it. That is how the knight works. Next up, we have the bishop. Fun fact, I Googled where it got the name bishop from, and evidently this is supposed to represent a war elephant, and this is supposed to be the elephant's trunk. I've been turning this piece back and forth, trying to see for the life of me how this could even somewhat resemble an elephant's trunk, and I got nothing, but we're just going to go ahead and take Google's word for it. Anyways, the bishop's movement is pretty simple. The bishop can move diagonal, unlimited spaces. It can move diagonal forward, left, forward, right, backwards, left. It doesn't matter. It just, that's how it kills also. It can only move diagonal. It cannot move forwards, sideways, or backwards. The bishop's pretty straightforward. Now, over here you have your king. The king is the most important piece in chess because if you lose your king, then, well, you lose the game. And so the king's movement is pretty simple. I'm making a little bit of a square around my king because he can move anywhere on that square I just made. He can move any direction, but only 1 space. So I can move to any of these spots that I'm indicating right now because they're any direction, but only 1 space. And it's wise to protect your king because if you lose him, then you lose the game. And the enemy king should be your target, the one with the crown or the cross on its head. Over here, you have your queen. The queen is the most powerful piece in chess because she can move unlimited spaces in any direction. So if my queen was right here, I can move over here. I can move over here. I can move over here. I can move unlimited spaces in any direction. The queen is pretty simple and powerful. As far as the setup, again, just to remind you, you got your pawns making up your second row. Then you have rook, knight, bishop in that order from both corners. And then lastly, this part can be a little bit confusing, so pay close attention to this part also. Your queen right here, your queen, you have 2 central tiles, and your queen goes on the central tile in your team's color. So since I'm the white team, she goes on my central white tile, and now and vice versa. So if I was on the black team, the queen would go on my central black tile. As you can see, these are my 2 central tiles, and she's on my central black tile, if that makes sense. And then the king goes in the final remaining slot, obviously. Alright guys, so to end this video, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a dry run against myself. I know that sounds silly, but let me just give you a sample of what a chess game could look like. So I'm going to start with my pawn, and I'm going to go ahead and move it 2 spaces like I'm allowed to on the first turn. And then this person moves his pawn 2 spaces like he's allowed on the first turn only with the pawns. And now he's 1 space in front of me in diagonal, so I could kill him. So I'm going to go ahead and kill his pawn right here like that. And now, boom, I'm winning. I have 1 piece, and he hasn't taken any of mine yet. I'm in the driver's seat, so to speak. Now let's say for his next turn, he moves his bishop right here because remember the bishop can move diagonal. So he moves his bishop diagonal 2 spaces. And then, wow, look at that. He set me up perfectly because my pawn can move 1 space forward diagonally and kill his bishop too. So I kill that bishop, and now I have 2 pieces. But remember the knight can make the L shape. It can go 1, 2, 1. So his knight makes an L shape and then kills my pawn. And then now he has 1 piece and I have 2. And then my rook, if y'all remember, the rook can move unlimited spaces going forward, side to side, or backwards. And look at this knight right in front of me. So my rook can easily just go forward and kill that knight. It can't like smother all the pieces because you have to stop after you hit a piece. And so yeah, my rook, so the rook killed the knight. And I don't mean to overcomplicate things for y'all, but I just wanted to give you a sample of how it looks. And I mean, yeah, guys, that's it right there. It's about how a game of chess could possibly look. I don't think a real game would go that way because the black team kind of shot themselves in the foot with their moves, but I was just giving an example of how it might look. But that's my first time teaching it. I hope I did a good job. I hope it makes sense to y'all. If y'all have any questions about chess or anything else, leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it for y'all. And with that said, hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to let me know in the comments what kind of stuff you want to see. Hope you have a great day. And as I always say, your boy Ali out.